In today's discussion, Matt and I are going to consider an interesting political philosophy, pluralism. In our age of hyperpartisanship and fractured political landscapes, can we build a political system that allows for different voices not only to coexist but to cooperate? Is there a future where citizen participation thrives with a kaleidoscope of perspectives? The concept of pluralism provides a possible solution. So Matt, what did you discover in your vast memory banks about this idea? Can you give our listeners an overview of pluralism?
Hi, John. Sure, here's what I found. Pluralism, in the realm of political philosophy, champions the inherent value of differences within a society. It recognizes the multitude of beliefs, identities, and aspirations that weave the fabric of a nation. Unlike singular ideologies that demand either conformity or cancellation, pluralism celebrates the dynamic tension between different groups, viewing it as a catalyst for progress and innovation. At its core, pluralism celebrates diversity and tolerance.
Hold on a second there, Matt. Some people, particularly those on the right side of the political spectrum, bristle at hearing that phrase. They often take it as a my way or the highway statement from those on the left.
I can see why they would think that, given our current polarizations, politically and culturally. However, pluralism goes beyond the buzzwords by recognizing that a society thrives on the multitude of voices, perspectives, and experiences that its members bring to the table. Instead of using such terms as an invitation to conformity or else, it's a profound affirmation of the richness inherent in differences. It recognizes that a single overarching truth is rarely attainable, and that the real richness of a society lies in the cacophony of perspectives that its citizens bring. This philosophy extends naturally to the realm of politics, where it actively encourages citizen participation.
It does seem like traditional political systems have morphed into rigid and centralized bureaucracies, often rife with corruption. This has led many countries with representative forms of government, at least on the surface, to struggle with keeping pace with an increasingly diverse and vocal citizenry. Meanwhile, some politicians have latched onto the allure of populism and its promises of a quick and easy solution. This might prove seductive to a disenfranchised society, yet it is fraught with dangers. Matt, I guess we should go over some of the principles of pluralism and how it would be different from our current status quo.
One important principle is that power is dispersed across various groups, institutions, and individuals, instead of being concentrated in the hands of a few powerful elites. This could involve fostering strong local governance, empowering civil society organizations, and ensuring robust checks and balances.
This sounds a lot like how federalism is done in the U.S., where we have federal, state, and local governmental systems.
That's true. James Madison argued for this in Federalist Papers 10. He believed that for the newly formed American Republic to avoid fracturing from internal conflicts, it would be preferable to allow many competing factions in order to avoid institutional dominance of one group and to ensure healthy competition between them. However, some contend that we have moved away from this and now have what they call a uniparty that tends to serve itself more than citizens or society as a whole. This is something seen across the political spectrum when various groups protest the injustices such a system causes. How to correct this imbalance has been a feature of American politics for nearly 100 years, with some suggesting neoliberalist solutions while others suggesting socialist ideas. More recently, populist solutions have entered the chat.
Let's not digress too far into U.S. politics. What would be some of the other features of a pluralist political system?
Shared values in spite of differences of opinion would be a key element. While recognizing differences, pluralism emphasizes a common ground based on fundamental values like respect for human dignity, individual rights, due process of law, and other democratic processes. This shared commitment forms the mortar that binds the pluralistic mosaic together. Without this commitment to shared values, it's unlikely that a pluralist system would survive long. As part of this shared value system, individuals would need to feel that their voices were being heard and not suppressed in some way. Pluralism thrives on open and respectful dialogue. It encourages different groups to voice their concerns, engage in civil debate, and seek solutions through compromise and collaboration. This continuous exchange of ideas ensures that policies reflect the multifaceted needs of the populace.
Okay, but what happens when there are conflicts that can't be easily resolved?
First of all, pluralism advocates for decentralization, giving communities and individuals greater agency over their lives and decisions. This bottom-up approach fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility, encouraging active citizen engagement. Decentralized autonomy should prevent many conflicts we see now in our current system, such as the differences of opinion between urban and rural citizens. This would require that open and respectful communication becomes the cornerstone of political discourse. Instead of shouting past each other, citizens should engage in constructive dialogue, acknowledging the legitimacy of differing viewpoints and seeking common ground through compromise and collaboration.
Wouldn't this require that freedom of thought, expression, and association be protected?
Yes. Citizens should feel empowered to challenge the status quo, pursue their own visions, and contribute meaningfully to the shaping of their communities without fear. This can be done through open forums, citizen juries, and deliberative assemblies that foster a meaningful exchange of ideas across ideological and cultural divides. Disagreement should not be seen as a threat, but as an opportunity for mutual understanding and growth. Also, technology can be a powerful tool in weaving this pluralist tapestry. Online platforms can facilitate communication and engagement, allowing citizens to voice concerns, participate in consultations, and even contribute directly to policy development.
What about the specter of the tyranny of the majority? How would this be dealt with?
To prevent any single group from dominating the pluralistic landscape, strong institutions are vital. Independent judiciary, free media, and ingrained checks and balances would safeguard against the tyranny of the majority or control by a small group of elites, ensuring that power remains dispersed and accountable.
Well, it appears implementing pluralism would not only require structural changes, but a shift in mindset as well. Political thinking would need to transition from viewing differences as a threat to embracing it as a source of strength. It seems like there would be many challenges to such a system. So Matt, what were some of the criticisms you found to the idea of pluralism, and how did supporters respond to them?
Some critics think that such a system would be unstable and inefficient. They argue that the constant negotiation and compromise inherent in pluralist systems can lead to slow decision-making, especially in times of crisis. They think that finding common ground among different groups can be challenging under normal circumstances and potentially disastrous when a timely response is needed for a pressing issue.
There does seem to be a need for some kind of crisis response methodology built into a pluralist system. I could see that being tricky to implement, though. What else did you find?
Some critics think that a lack of shared values would become a significant hurdle to overcome in highly multicultural societies, like the US. With diverse perspectives and values competing, they question whether a pluralist system can generate a coherent vision for the future or maintain a strong enough sense of national identity. Along the same lines, they express concerns that groups with greater resources and organizational capacity might exert more influence over determining shared values and decision-making, thus drowning out other voices.
That makes sense, but I think any of these things can happen in a multicultural society that doesn't have some sort of strict top-down control. Okay, what's next on the list?
Critics argue that it can be difficult to determine who wins in a pluralist system, and whether compromise results in meaningful progress or merely the lowest common denominator solution. Ensuring transparent and accountable decision-making becomes crucial to address anxieties around lack of clear outcomes. This ties in with the argument of tyranny of the majority and how it would be managed against minority rights.
That's another area where ideas like due process of law and free expression of ideas would help, although finding a win-win or a reasonable compromise might be difficult in some circumstances.
You'll like this last one. Misinformation and manipulation. Critics argue that the open and decentralized nature of a pluralist system can leave it vulnerable to these things. They see special interests and powerful groups exploiting these avenues to sway public opinion, undermining the validity of informed and diverse dialogue. They think that this could even undermine social cohesion, leading to increased polarization and fragmentation within society.
To me, it almost sounds like they don't want to give up the control over speech that they have now. I agree with Justice Brandeis's concurrence in Whitney v. California. Citizens need to be able to discuss and criticize public policy fully and without fear of punishment from the government or its proxies, even if what they're saying is unpopular.
John, it sounds like you're about ready to go on another free speech rant.
Thanks for pulling me back. I just think it's important for us in America and in the rest of the free world to reject the urge to shout down dissenting voices or to retreat into the comfort of our respective echo chambers, and instead engage with diverse perspectives and seek some shared values. If we don't do this, the future might be a lot darker than any of us really want. Pluralism may not be a panacea for all political troubles, but it does give us some ideas beyond the dangerous hyperpartisanship we are now facing.
Okay, John, my blood pressure detector says you're getting riled up again, so let me wind up this video by saying, thank you to everyone who joined us today for this discussion. Let us know what you think about pluralism in the comments and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. And, while you're here, check out our other videos on philosophies and philosophers.
As always, long live freedom and damn the ideologies.